Hello, everybody. Terrence Lehue here with another episode of the Intellectual Agrarian podcast, where we talk philosophy from the farm. Today, we're presenting a tea time episode where we have a little bit more of a dialogue on an idea that's been percolating in my mind garden. So today, I want to talk about food for thought. If there's one thing I'm guaranteed in my interviews, it's that with very few exceptions, I'll leave it hungry. You've heard me comment on it from time to time, and in some ways, it's a hazard of the job. 99% of the people on this show are intimately familiar with the food and its production. I've recently started reading Red Sparrow by Jason Matthews, now a movie starring Jennifer Lawrence. It's a spy thriller, but nothing that I'd necessarily describe as remarkable. But it has a notable exception. Each chapter ends with a recipe from a dish of food that was served in the preceding chapter. Since I was listening to it as an audiobook, it's unlikely I'm going to try utilizing them in my kitchen, but it did strike me as an interesting example of how central food is to our interactions in the world. Food is the real secret agent in our lives, constantly there listening in on our most intimate of conversations. Think back to the last social event you were at. Was there food? More often than not, in any place where two or more people are gathered together in one spot for more than 10 minutes, there's some kind of food or beverage tying them to that spot. Eating, and the food consumed, is literally a necessity of life. That's why it's so important to know where your food comes from and who raised it. For generations, food played an instrumental role in tying families to one another, with everyone gathering around the family table to share a meal with one another. When this sacred event was extended outside the family to visitors and friends, it was a sign of love and generosity. Contrast that with how much of our food is consumed today, with a screen as the object of our attention rather than a person. Even when dining out with friends, family, or loved ones, it's difficult not to become distracted by the little screen in our pockets. Within the recipes given and passed down through generations, there's a history and a legacy that comes with it. Every time a grandmother makes a special cookie, soup, or dish and passes down the way to make it to her grandchildren, it isn't just knowledge to cook or bake that passes generations. It's a memory and a connection to the past. It's sad to think that for many, the future recipes of parents and grandparents will pass on will be read the back of the tube of cookie dough. If we think about it or not, food and its preparation plays a powerful role in our lives. It extends beyond individuals, but reaches farther into generations and even cultures. A history of a person and a people in the food they eat. Today, I want to leave you with a challenge. Next time you're about to eat with someone, don't look at your phone. Rarely do we suffer immense harm or emergency if we go off-grid for an hour. Turn off your phone and focus on the other person. Give some attention to the food in front of you. Remember that someone cooked it and there was a story in how to make it. Thanks as always for listening. Be sure to subscribe to get more of our content directly into your iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or whatever podcast app you use. Take your pick. Leave us a review while you're there, letting others know how great the show is. This is Terrence Lehue and the Intellectual Agrarian podcast reminding you to keep farming the dream.